Johannesburg. This is Ian Gertenbach, joined by Vicky Katsaginis. Always a Katsaginis.
No, Katsaginis.
Katsaginis.
Yeah, I've had worse. People have said Katsaginas before.
Oh, wow. Well, that's just unfortunate. But thankfully, we are joined by Vicky over here, and we are going to be doing our weekly recurring segment, A Week in Music History. Just a little note, all facts are retrieved from the wonderful website thisdayinmusic.com. Right, on Monday in 1962, the first Beatles recording session took place at Abbey Road Studios. The group recorded 4 tracks, one of which was Love Me Do. The 4 musicians received payments for the session of £7.10 or $12.07 each, which, as we know by today's standards, is quite off the mark.
Yeah, quite sad that they did such amazing things for so little for their recording session.
Exactly. What I find quite interesting is that they were getting paid for the session as opposed to them doing them actually paying to record. Yes.
Yeah, I think at that stage were they already quite big.
The thing is that. Because I would say that the height of their fame was happening like in kind of like the late 60s, early 70s kind of thing. I mean, they were active as a band from the early 50s, and they were cutting their teeth in Hamburg and all that kind of stuff. But they were probably fairly well established enough to record 4 tracks.
Yeah,
which is more than I can say for some local bands, So. All right, and then, Vicky, what happened on Tuesday?
So, on Tuesday in 1966, David Jones changed his name to David Bowie to avoid confusion with Davy Jones from The Monkees, just in time for the release of his single, Can't Help Thinking About Me. He later admitted that he chose Bowie because he liked that big American bear-killing knife.
David Bowie, that guy was quite a legend, and may he rest in peace. He did die recently, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. I'm not too sure which part of London it was, but I went there and they still had all the flowers that people were still putting by his apartment where he lived.
Oh my word!
That whole street, and apparently when he died, it was flooded with flowers. You couldn't even walk through.
I can just imagine. Well, he was quite the legend.
Definitely, yeah.
He was quite the legend. Anyways, on Wednesday in 1970, the insurmountable Diana Ross started a 3-week run at #1 on the US singles chart with Ain't No Mountain High Enough. This was the singer's first solo #1 since leaving the Supremes. For those who don't know, the Supremes were probably one of the very first incredibly successful female vocalist groups, or girl band, or whichever you want to call it. So they've left quite a mark on history, and also I believe the movie Dreamgirls was based on their exploits as well.
It was, with Jennifer Hudson and
featuring all Beyonce Knowles and what have you. But so Diana Ross, quite a notable fact right there. Now on Thursday, Vicky, what happened?
So in 1982, Ozzy Osbourne was arrested in San Antonio, Texas, for urinating on the Alamo. He claims he thought it was a pile of rubble. So Osbourne was wearing a dress at the time of his arrest, apparently due to his wife Sharon hiding all his clothes so he couldn't go outside. Unfortunately, Osbourne was banned from ever playing in San Antonio, Texas again, a ban which was lifted in 1992.
I have, as a rock musician and as a rock history fan, I've heard this story so many times about him urinating on the Alamo. And just a quick little clarification of the fact here as well. It wasn't necessarily the building itself that he urinated on. Apparently, it was the plaque or something attached to the building. So I suppose, but either which way, Ozzy Osbourne, what a madman.
Yeah, you can always get classic stories from him and his wife.
Exactly, and I think it's incredibly hilarious that in order to subvert his wife hiding all of his clothes so he couldn't go outside, he went and struck a blow for gender roles as well by going out in a dress. So well done to Mr. Osbourne for breaking society's standards there.
Especially in Texas.
Especially in Texas. Yeah, I guess you just didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
Anyways, on Friday in the year of 1988, Nelson Mandela's 70th birthday tribute concert took place at Wembley Stadium in London, featuring musical greats such as Whitney Houston, Phil Collins, Dire Straits, Stevie Wonder, Tracy Chapman, George Michael, Eric Clapton, UB40, The Eurythmics, and Simple Minds. My goodness, what a lineup. The event was broadcast live on BBC Two to 40 different countries with an estimated audience of 1 billion. Pretty fitting for one of the most inspiring men in our country's history, let alone the history of the world.
Definitely. I think only a man like him could get such a tribute with such a vast audience.
Yeah, it's quite something. All right, on Saturday, what happened there, Vicky?
So, on Saturday in 1992, Radiohead filmed the video for their new single, Creep, during a show at the venue in Oxford, England. During its initial release, Creep was not a chart success. However, upon re-release in 1993, it became a worldwide hit.
I must stress that I myself am a massive Radiohead fan,
too.
and one interesting thing I do know about the song "Creep" as well is that because it was such a runaway success after it was obviously re-released in 1993, it got to a point where I'm sure in much the same way as some artists don't like being associated by like just that one song.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
And like for example, Kurt Cobain from Nirvana would always get like kind of annoyed when people would request that song "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Yes, of
You know,
course.
obviously their most famous song, and a similar thing happened with Radiohead and their attitude towards the song "Creep." And in fact, after those years, because that song was there from their debut album Pablo Honey, and after those years, in the shows subsequent to that, the lead vocalist would pretty much flat out refuse to play that song, and it happened very rarely. They were too busy, in my opinion, carving much more outwards thinking and imaginative musical ventures. But I suppose if a lot of people know you for only one thing, it does get a little bit annoying.
I would imagine, but what I found fascinating was that it wasn't initially a hit.
Yes.
And they had to re-release it.
Yes.
And it's such an amazing song, lyrically and melodically. And for people, it's just amazing how timing is so important.
This is the thing. I mean, you get so many artists who release completely stellar music, but as you say, it's all about timing. It's all about timing and the right marketing.
Yes.
As well. All right. And then on Sunday in 2005, some research published by the Guinness World Records Society, I suppose, showed that Status Quo have had more hit singles than any other band in UK chart history, with 61 chart successes dating from Pictures of Matchstick Men in 1968 to You'll Come Around in 2004. The band Queen came second with 52 hits, and the Rolling Stones and UB40 with 51 hits each, which is quite hilarious because most of the time when people think or speak of, great iconic bands, you would expect Queen to be right up there. I mean, everybody knows Queen.
Well, I was surprised that the Beatles weren't on there either.
That's actually
I mean, I to be honest, I've never heard of Status Quo. Again, I might have heard of their songs, but I'm very bad with names.
But this is the thing. Just in a general conversational point, like most people, only like true hardcore, die-hard, old-school rock fans will know who Status Quo are.
Okay.
Even off the top of my head, I can't even really name and I claim to be a historian, so quite amazing. And UB40 as well. I knew they were popular, but I didn't realize their unique brand of white man reggae was popular to the point of 51 hits each, just one behind Queen. So
I know.
And then Rolling Stones as well.
But seriously, the Beatles, I couldn't believe they didn't Where were they? If you ask people iconic bands, most of the time it's Queen, the Beatles, and Rolling Stones are your most mentioned.
Maybe it's a case of they. Actually, you know what? This is a mystery. This is a mystery that I'm also finding it very hard to believe that they weren't up there in the list. We will get back on this, actually.
Yeah.
We'll make a note of it and
We'll investigate this.
Yes, and next week we will clarify this apparent wrong that needs to be righted. Anyways, if there's nothing else, I think that brings our week in music history to a close. Thank you very much, Vicky. You were the one that compiled this information for me this time around. So
It's a pleasure. I hope they were interesting facts for all of you listening.
I think they were.
I think there were some interesting ones, yeah.
Yeah, I found it very interesting. But anyways, tune in next week for another segment of useless facts about the history of music that people will just like to throw out in conversation and what have you. But nonetheless, knowledge is power. Please don't forget to give us your thoughts on all forms of social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can use our hashtags at COPA Artist or COPA Radio or hashtag COPA Life. Please join the conversation. We would love to hear from you. Thanks again for listening. This is Ian Gertenbach and
Vicky Katz.
all right, thank you.